Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating one for you today. We are going to be exploring a philosophical framework by an author named Xu Feng. And together, we're going to map out essentially the entire scope of human evolution. We're talking about everything from our absolute most basic methods of learning all the way up to the ultimate heights of enlightenment.
What is the ultimate goal of human life? Honestly, it's a massive question, isn't it? Take a second and just ponder that. Are we all just here to learn some facts, make a living, and try to survive? Or is there a deeper structural progression to our existence? Well, this framework attempts to answer exactly that core problem.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. First, we'll look at the three major pursuits. Then, Step 1, gathering knowledge. Step 2, cultivating wisdom. Step 3, attaining spirituality. And finally, we'll wrap up with shortcuts to spiritual awakening. It's a very clear, sequential staircase we'll be climbing today.
Starting off with Section 1, the three major pursuits, the staircase of human evolution. Here, the author lays out human progression in three very distinct phases.
According to the source text, these three pursuits, knowledge, wisdom, and spirituality, are not just some random, scattered life goals. They are explicitly framed as stepping stones. Think of them as a literal staircase that you have to climb to achieve a higher state of being, which the text describes as ultimately becoming a celestial being or a Buddha. The point is, you can't just randomly leap around. You have to do the climbing.
So, let's hit Section 2. Step 1, gathering knowledge, which is all about understanding the material world. We have arrived at the foundational layer.
The text defines knowledge as the understanding and summary of the material world. It's the laws, the insights, and the experiences we gain during productive practices. This is absolutely crucial because it's humanity's primary task. It's what lifts us out of primitive ignorance and lays the groundwork for civilization. Without this first step, the author notes that a person is incredibly hard to educate and unlikely to achieve much of anything.
So, where exactly do we get this knowledge? Well, the good news is we don't have to start from scratch. We inherit it. Whether we're absorbing it through formal schooling, leaning on the lived experiences of seasoned workers and farmers, or just browsing the vast digital library of the internet and modern media, we get to soak up all the accumulated discoveries of our predecessors. We don't have to figure out how to invent the wheel firsthand. But actually, there is a super important distinction to make right here. Knowledge is not a capability. It's just a prerequisite and a foundation for acquiring capability. Simply memorizing facts or getting a fancy degree just gives you the building blocks. Having the bricks doesn't mean you can actually build the house yet.
Which brings us to Section 3, Step 2, cultivating wisdom, or the application of knowledge. Let's see how this builds and steps up from just knowing things to actually doing something with them.
In this framework, wisdom is defined as the sublimation of knowledge. It is the active capability to discern, analyze, judge, invent, and create. It's what happens when you finally figure out how to apply what you know to real life. It is the very engine that drives societal progress and development. The text even suggests that a person, or a whole nation for that matter, remains poor and backward precisely because they lack this active wisdom. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Think of knowledge as going to the supermarket and buying flour, cooking oil, vegetables, and seasonings. You have all the items, sure, but that alone doesn't magically solve your hunger. Wisdom is the active process of taking those raw ingredients and cooking a meal to actually feed yourself. You are transforming static knowledge into a dynamic, life-sustaining capability.
According to the framework, certain people have truly mastered this art of turning their raw ingredients into wisdom. Scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, political and religious leaders, these are the folks who have elevated their knowledge into the active capability needed to solve complex problems and push society forward. But there is a limitation. Wisdom can make life full and prosperous, but it cannot solve a person's ultimate worries. Think about that. No matter how materially successful or incredibly wise you become, wisdom alone simply doesn't answer the deepest anxieties and ultimate questions of human existence. And that leads us to Section 4. Step 3, attaining spirituality, the final ascent. We are now moving from the material world to the non-material world. Here, spirituality is defined as the sublimation of wisdom. It's the ability to communicate with a non-material world and truly distinguish absolute truth and goodness from falsehood and evil.
But remember that staircase we talked about? The author stresses that without those firm foundations of knowledge and wisdom, genuine spirituality is impossible. Without the prior steps, it just devolves into mere superstition and illusory longing.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the source material categorizes historical and modern religious figures into different tiers of spiritual mastery. It starts at the base with the inheritors, like monks, priests, and imams. Above them are the pioneers, figures like Osho or Seth. Then come the navigators who chart the grand course, citing figures like Lazi, Muhammad, Shakyamuni, and Jesus. And finally, absolutely everything originates from a single source, which is described here as the Tao of the greatest creator. Now here is a massive point in the text. Knowledge and wisdom are unrelated to morality. It's a bit jarring, right? But the text argues that you can be highly knowledgeable and practically wise, yet completely lack morality. True morality only arrives at this final, spiritual stage because it requires that specific spiritual ability to distinguish absolute goodness and love from evil and hatred.
Okay, moving to Section 5. Shortcuts to spiritual awakening, skipping the steps. Because, let's be honest, that staircase sounds like a lot of work. So, are there cheat codes? The text literally asks, is there a path to directly awaken spiritual awareness without schooling, social practice, or listening to sermons? Can someone bypass the heavy, time-consuming requirements of gathering knowledge and cultivating wisdom and just hack their way straight to the top of the staircase? The author's answer is a resounding yes through two specific shortcuts. The first is reading the celestial book. Now, this isn't a paper book. It means reading the heavens, the earth, and society to understand divine revelations directly from the phenomena of nature. The second shortcut is predestined affinity. This means directly encountering celestials or Buddhas and letting them guide your life. Both of these paths essentially create a direct line of communication with the greatest creator. Fulfilling either of these conditions allows even an illiterate person to attain spirituality directly. It's a pretty wild paradigm shift. Through these shortcuts, the strict prerequisites of knowledge and wisdom are completely bypassed. You don't need a university degree or entrepreneurial success to reach the ultimate spiritual peak, provided you can tap into these direct, non-material connections. And Shufeng leaves us with this provocative thought. A person who often contemplates the ultimate goal of life is more likely to attain enlightenment and spirituality. So asking those massive existential questions isn't just an idle pastime, it's the actual catalyst for your evolution. Where do you see yourself on this staircase right now? Are you still gathering ingredients? Are you cooking the meal? Or are you looking entirely beyond the kitchen? Definitely something to keep contemplating. Thanks so much for exploring this with us today.